Yeah.
Let's talk to somebody who we are both going to be extremely jealous of because he's going to be at the Masters. He is Gary Van Sickle. He is a sports writer for SportsIllustrated.com. Read his work, The Morning Read at SI.com. He's covered golf for 40 years. And yes, like I said, he's going to be at the Masters. So, Gary, first off, what's it like to actually be at Augusta?
Well, as you just mentioned, you feel special because it's not that easy to get in as a media member or as a spectator. So you kind of feel like you're a member of a special club that you get to go inside the Emerald Palace and see what's going on. So it's not like going to the U.S. Open or any other tournament. You said it. It's different and it's a little bit special. And there's nothing media people hate more than admitting something like that. Like, oh, I feel special going in there. You never want to admit that, but okay, it's true.
Yeah, so now we officially hate you because you get to go and we don't.
No,
But everybody,
let's be honest. I think you hated me before. Now it's
all right. So anytime Tiger Woods' name is brought up in the same sentence as Masters, that's going to be the overwhelming topic of discussion. So, number one, do you think Tiger Woods is going to play? Number two, do you think he actually has a chance of winning it?
That's funny. It's just we're back to old days and Tiger Mania, where Tiger Woods blots out the sun, and anything that else happens, this week is going to be, oh yeah, whatever. Somebody made a hole in one, so what? But what did Tiger do on 7? I thought Tiger was going to play because he sure sounded like it. He came down and played last week, and I guess he was here yesterday afternoon and played the back 9. Obviously, and he said that he's having a press conference today at 11, and he has basically said it's going to be a game time decision. So apparently, from what he's saying, he hasn't decided yet whether we know he can play physically the golf swing and hit the ball. We saw him at the PNC Challenge in December with his son Charlie. He looked really darn good swinging the club. Didn't look so good walking, and that's the challenge. Can he? Augusta's very hilly, which someday you'll know when you get here, Chelsea. It's very hilly. It's a tough walk. 9 and 18 are killers because to get to the green, you got to walk back up the hill. It's like a cardiac hill. You got to get up there. But if you got a bad ankle, it's a tough walk, and he's trying to figure out, can he do that 4 days in a row and have it not affect his golf to the point where he can't compete? I think he'll play, and let's be honest, Tiger Woods is not going to play unless he thinks he can win. That's what he's about. If he thought, I don't think I can make the cut, he won't play. But I think he's, let's face it, we're all just guessing. Is he going to play or not? We don't know. We only know the information that he gives us. And as you've seen over the years, the information he gives us isn't always exactly accurate. So we're just guessing. But if, with the world's like teetering on the edge here waiting to find out, is he or isn't he?
We're talking with Gary Van Sickle, legendary writer from The Morning Read at SI.com, been covering golf for 40 years. The only point I disagree with is that I don't think Chelsea will ever make it to the Masters. The more I think about it, it's just not going to happen.
God, Jinx.
I was trying to be nice.
I know. I do want to ask about Tiger. I don't want to harp on this because I know there are other golfers in this tournament that have a chance to certainly win this thing. But I keep harping on the fact, and please correct me because you're more of the expert than I am, but I keep going back to how catastrophic this leg injury was for Tiger. If for some reason, this isn't just some sort of setback when he had a torn ACL back in 2008. We're talking about a guy who nearly lost his leg. If he somehow ended up winning this thing, because you yourself say Tiger's not going to play unless he thinks he can win, and that's absolutely true. If he somehow found a way to win this thing, where would that rank in the pantheon of comeback stories? Because I tend to think that as a viewer, as fans, we've forgotten what Tiger has been through here.
Yeah, it's going to be either the first or second greatest comeback in golf history. Look, Ben Hogan got hit by a bus, and his story was even more heroic because in the fog and wherever he was in Texas, I think, I don't even remember where he was, but he saw the bus. and he swerved so the bus would hit his side of the car and not his wife's side. So he intentionally, at the last second, he was able to turn the wheel away from the bus, and he took the hit more than his wife did. And then Hogan came back, and he was only able to play a few times a year, and he kept winning majors, and it was unbelievable. And imagine the kind of medical treatment that Ben Hogan got in 1948 versus the kind of treatment we have now. I mean, I don't think anything is going to top the Ben Hogan story, except, in this modern day and age, golf is so much bigger, Tiger is so much bigger, everything is so much bigger. And you know how the media are. Anytime there's a poll about the greatest music of all time, it's something, or the greatest pitcher of all time, it's always somebody that happened in the last 5 minutes, because, we want to feel like we're part of the greatest thing of all time. But yeah, Tiger's comeback is going to be called the greatest comeback of all time if he in fact wins. And it's hard to argue Hogan's the only guy who would be in that class, just because of the severity of his injuries, which, are somewhat similar. His was his whole leg. So yeah, you saw Tiger walking at that PNC Challenge, and he did not look like he was ready to run the 50-yard dash. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he looks like. It's not only how he plays, but people are going to be watching every step. They're going to be looking for every grimace. This is going to be Tiger Mania on steroids. It's going to be amazing if he plays.
Yeah, it sounds like a bad thing, but I'm actually very excited for it. But let's talk about the field.
It's a good thing. It is a good thing because people are going to be so into this. And, the other players are going to be great. Nobody's going to pay any attention to us. No pressure on us. They're going to like it too.
Unless you're in the same group with Tiger, and then you have the big cat staring down your putts every single time. And boy, has that got to be intimidating. But let's talk about some of these players that have had a good stretch recently. Scottie Scheffler, the world number one, won 3 of his last 5 starts. And then Cam Smith winning the Players' Championship 5 weeks ago. So we talk about experience really mattering at Augusta. Do you see either of these guys who have been playing really well recently making a run at the Masters, despite, the theory that experience matters more, and we'll see somebody who's either play this event a lot or a guy that's actually won the Masters come out on top?
It's hard to argue against a guy who's won 3 times in 5 weeks. My only concern with Scottie Scheffler is, well, there's 2 concerns. One is winning is so mentally draining. It takes so much out of you. And he won the match play tournament, which was 7 rounds of golf in 5 days, and in Texas, in his home state, and it got him to number 1. I mean, it wasn't a normal win. You just don't see guys who aren't named Tiger winning multiple events in a row. And Scheffler's not so great around the greens. That's kind of one of the weak spots in his game. But I mean, the strength of his game, he's pretty good at everything. But I was looking at some stats, and he ranks 151st in scrambling, and that's kind of one of the keys in Augusta. So I'd be a little leery of him, except obviously he's the hottest player in the world. Now, Cameron Smith, who won the Players, he reminds me of, he's like Jordan Spieth 2.0. He gets up and down from a ball washer. This guy is probably the best putter in the tour. He's probably the best chipper and pitcher on the tour. I mean, sorry, Jordan, but this guy is phenomenal. You may recall he tied for second at the Masters at the one in November when Dustin Johnson won. So not only does Cameron Smith, have some history at Augusta, but he's been successful. Now, conditions in November aren't anything like the ones in April. So maybe that's an outlier we should ignore. But wouldn't you like to see a guy put on a green jacket who's got a mullet? I would.
What? Oh.
I would think Augusta would lose their collective minds and demand that he cut his hair before the Champions Dinner, but I would love to see it as well. Gary, when you look at Roy McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau, clearly 2 of the best players on the planet, but they both missed the cut this past weekend. Does that give you any pause going into Augusta, or do you think these are 2 vets, these guys have gotten it done before, I'm not worried about it?
Well, I'm not worried about what they did recently. I'm more worried about, Rory has kind of proven over the years that, there's no statistic for this. But when you putt on super fast greens with a ton of slope, which you don't get to do that often, but these greens are like nothing else, you need to have more of an artist's eye and not some techno putting stroke. Ben Crenshaw was an artist. He could see the breaks. Rory just doesn't have that. And I've thought for a long time that Rory's not the guy for the Masters because the putting is, it's A+ level. Now, that said, we've seen Sergio Garcia and Vijay Singh wing. They were terrible putters, but they could chip the eyes out of the ball. Chipping isn't exactly Rory's greatest thing either, and he's terrible with a wedge, based on by pro standards from like 90 yards, get poor distance control. So those are kind of things that cost you shots here and there at Augusta. So I've kind of really thought that Rory's not a guy who can win the Masters or will win it, but he's capable of having a week where he just strikes the ball so darn well that he never has anything but an 8-foot uphill putt. So it's possible, but I'm not high on his chances. And he needs the Masters to complete his career Grand Slam, which is an extra ounce of pressure you don't need on the back nine on Sunday when you're already walking a high wire carrying a live Tiger over a minefield. I mean, it's hard to get past that Sunday afternoon at Augusta. And DeChambeau is another. He's a total technician. He's so far appeared totally bamboozled by Augusta, and he jinxed himself by saying, this is really a par 68 course for me the first time he was there. It's like, okay, you're toast, pal. You did not say that to the gods of golf. Oh, this course is a par 68 for me. Okay, well, you shot 72. That's 4 over. So how'd that go? So and Bryson's got a hamate bone in his wrist that's injured, and it's going to affect him. I don't see him contending. And if he does, that's great because he currently, after Tiger and Phil, Bryson DeChambeau is the biggest name in golf these days. So he's going to be a sideshow of his own. But if anybody's not watching Tiger.
Yeah, I think as soon as he said that quote, the golf gods banned him from winning at the most hallowed place in all of golf. But you're right. There are so many other interesting storylines besides Tiger. But of course, that's probably the one that everybody is interested in the most.